Hey guys, welcome back. Today in this video, I will talk about the BQEYZ Cloud. So BQEYZ may sound a bit weird for a brand name, but they are one of the many veteran brands in the chi-fi world. They have been making a lot of good IM from the budget range to just under $300, yet their sound value is really high. So different from many other brands, BQEYZ only releases 1 or 2 IM per year. So you know that they have put in a lot of thought into each of their products, focusing on developing them before releasing them into the market. This is the reason that I personally held BQEYZ in a high regard. I think BQEYZ were most famously known for their season collection, where they have 4 IMs that are named after the 4 seasons called Spring, Summer, Autumn, and Winter. Last year, they started a new series called Weather, and the first IM in the Weather series was called the Wind, which has 1 dynamic driver and 1 bone conduction driver. Now, almost 9 months later, they finally releases the second IM in the Weather series called the Cloud, which is what we have right here. The Cloud has a 10mm SAP dynamic driver and a 6.8mm passive diaphragm unit. This passive radiator is set to manage the air pressure inside the cavity and suppress the excess high frequency, resulting in a clean and crisp output. The Cloud is currently selling for $169 on online retail stores. I would like to first thank BQEYZ for organizing a tour review unit for the Cloud. Everything I said in this video will be my subjective opinion only. So the Cloud comes in this relatively small box right here. Inside the box, the IM was put in the forefront and all the accessories were put inside the carrying case. The accessories include the cable, 2 types of silicone tips, 1 pair of foam tips, and the carrying case itself. The atmosphere tips have a short and wider bore width, whereas the reference tips have a similar length but with a wider bore. A small nitpick on my part though, as much as I like the presentation, I would have preferred a plastic tip holder instead, for 2 reasons. First, by using a plastic or paper tip holder, you would decrease the production cost by a little bit. I mean, every small bit of money counts, right? And second, if it's a plastic tip holder, I won't have to worry about the shells getting scratched up when put it in the case. With the current metal holder like this, I'm afraid that it may scratch up the shell during use. So here is the closer look of the IM and the cable. The Cloud shells are made out of aluminum with an anodized matte finish in a gorgeous cyan color. I don't think I've ever seen a cyan colored IM before, so this is a really nice change of pace for me. The shell feels light yet very sturdy. The construction of the IM seems to be nicely done too. I would like to compliment BQEYZ for adding a chamfered edge around the faceplate so that it is not as easy to scratch up and lose the anodized finish over time. The shell shape actually reminds me of the Triple Wind Olina, but luckily during my test, I did not encounter any condensation issue. Cable-wise, I really love this cable. It is a coaxial mixed cable with single crystal copper and silver-plated copper as transmitting material. Although it is in a simple colorway with minimalistic hardware, the cable is crazy soft, especially for the ear hook, which in turn makes the Cloud more comfortable to wear. As for the shell comfort and isolation, the Cloud has an average isolation, but it is quite comfortable to wear. I can wear this IM for many hours straight with no hotspot in my ears. Power and sensitivity wise, the Cloud is a relatively easy to drive IM. Even with a 3.5mm single-ended cable, when pairing it with a dongle like the EPC TP50, the Cloud does not feel like it is lacking in dynamics or underperforming at all. When using it with a stronger source like the Chord Mojo, the treble response seems to be even smoother with slightly more colored mids, but it is very incremental. Overall, when it comes to sources, you don't need much to fully enjoy the Cloud. Onto the sound impression, the Cloud has a neutral bright tonality. The bass of the Cloud are on the north of the polite side, but it is not entirely flat like the graph has already suggested. It has a sub-bass over mid-bass presentation, with the sub-bass being gently rolled off, and the mid-bass seems to only appear when it is called for. by using Chameleon by Trent DeMoller and Why So Serious by Hans Zimmer as my sub-bass testing tracks, the Cloud shows great proficiency at handling the sub-bass drop. The sub-bass texture is surprisingly great. It is deep, rumbly, and there's no sense of clipping or dragging behind, although in the grand scheme of things, it does sound a little bit loose. The transition from sub-bass to mid-bass is quite linear. Mid-bass punches are there, but not very authoritative. Acoustic instruments are focusing on more quality than quantity. In rock songs, the kick drums are present with natural timbre, but they don't pack a lot of force behind them. The plucking of the cello and double bass can be felt. However, the sustaining pitch and lingering vibration are quite subpar. With drum instruments like taiko drums or Chinese traditional drums, they have a natural timbre to them. Each separate hits are easily felt. However, the lingering sense is just not much, like they are lacking in fullness and decay a little bit too fast. I would have liked for them to be a bit boomier. All in all, it seems the Cloud is going for a more monitor type of bass. Even with that low of a bass boost, the mid-range does have some warmth feeling to it. As a whole, I would describe the mid-range as clean, clear, smooth, and energetic. Female vocals are sublime and is the star of the Cloud. Adele or Celine Dion sounds vivid and lively without feeling harsh. The contrast between the neutral-ish bass with the high pinna gain makes their high notes stand out even more, putting them into the front stage. According to the graph, they should have sound harsher, but the PR seems to almost glaze over their voice, making them sound sweeter. That being said, with Diana Krall's Autumn in New York at the 1 minute and 41 second mark, the Autumn just pops into my head all of a sudden, with such a high intensity that it makes me startled. So I think this really depends on the mixing and the mastering of each song. Male vocals, on the other hand, is not quite the Cloud's strongest point. Frank Sinatra, Michael Bublé, or baritone sounds more than decent, but they don't sound quite as lush and full-bodied. Instruments like piano and violin have a natural tone and timbre to them. The note weight actually seems fine, although they do not feel very dense and have very little coloration to them. The treble here is quite nicely done. It is airy, sparkly, without sounding too picky. It is energetic, but not as pronounced as the upper mid-range. The treble felt really smooth and highly refined compared to many other single dynamic driver IM, which makes the guitar distortion quite a treat to enjoy. The 8K pick seems to be an artifact of the coupler, as the Cloud does not sound like it has much sibilant at all. With Caravan by John Watson, cymbal strikes and hi-hats sounds natural with quick attack and decay. They have great shimmering, yet they didn't sound too splashy or crunchy. From 4 minutes and 30 seconds onwards, all the percussion instruments are greatly reproduced with high intensity and brilliance, yet they do not sound overbearing at all. Soundstage-wise, the Cloud is decently wide with not much height to them. It is airy, yes. However, with songs that have spatial cues that rely on the bass to convey, the Cloud doesn't give me that quite out-of-head feeling. The imaging is good with whatever headroom left by the soundstage. The instruments in the orchestra tracks have quite good layering. Using bubbles and swashers by Yosi Horikawa, the Cloud showed me that it has a better microdynamic rendering than macrodynamics. As for comparison, I will compare the Cloud with the Simgot EA1000. Both of these IM have a similar configuration, which is 1 DD and 1 PR. The main difference is that the passive radiator that was used in the EA1000 is for the bass region, whereas the Cloud's PR is for the upper mix and the treble region. Sound-wise, I would say the Cloud is a flatter or more neutral Simgot EA1000. The bass has less thump, less authority on the Cloud. The bass texture is better on the EA1000, almost like it has that 3D sense to it. The dynamic swing, the plucking of the bass guitar or double bass, the drum hits sounds really nice on the EA1000. The bass texture on the Cloud is not bad per se. The Cloud's bass still sounds very natural and really realistic in timbre, but when standing in front of the EA1000, I don't think many can compete with the EA1000's quick and highly technical bass response. The midrange, on the other hand, sounds a bit more forward on the Cloud. Both of these IM have what I would call a bright leaning upper midrange. With a lower bass amount, the upper midrange stands out more on the Cloud. Female vocal sounds more captivating and emotional on the Cloud, whereas the EA1000 sounds a bit harsher, brighter, and more prone to sibilance. Horn instruments like trumpet has more bite on the EA1000, but sounds more realistic on the Cloud, albeit with not much warmth. Treble is another thing that's easy to spot. Both of these IM's treble are airy, well extended, and highly energetic. But on the EA1000 with the red nozzle, the treble is noticeably pickier, harsher, and more intense. Cymbals and hi-hats sounds more aggressive, with more splashy feeling to it. So together with the PR, the Cloud's treble sounds noticeably smoother, more articulated, but still manages to sound airy and snappy. The treble on the EA1000 sounds more jagged and rougher around the edges in comparison. Technicality-wise, the EA1000 edges over the Cloud to my ears. It has better macro dynamics, more detail retrieval, although the Cloud is no slouch either. The EA1000 has more depth and height than the Cloud. Imaging is better on the EA1000 due to the more incisive, tighter driver membrane, which gives this sharper sense of layering. Another IM that I would like to compare the Cloud with is the Wind, the first IM in the Weather series. Now, I don't have the Wind by my side right now, so take this comparison with a pinch of salt, as I would be relying on my auditorial memory. If this puts you off, you can skip this comparison and go straight to the conclusion part. But because I've listened to the Wind for nearly 2 months, I hope this does give me a bit of leeway on talking about this comparison. Different from the Cloud, the Wind has one dynamic driver and one bone conduction driver for the bass region. Sound-wise, the Wind has a bassier and darker tonality than the Wind. The bass on the Wind is denser, has more body and more lingering sense to it. The quantity is not much more on the Wind, but with the bone conduction, the bass felt more organic and more immersive. Mid-range-wise, both of these IM sound great for different reasons. If the Cloud brings you this lively, energetic, and delicate mid-range feeling, the Wind gives you a warmer, more colored mid-range with an edge more realistic in acoustic timbre. The lower mid-range has a bit more texture and layering to it. Female vocal sounds more sublime and velvety with the Cloud. As for the treble, the Cloud's treble just sounds better. It sounds brighter, smoother, better articulated in the attack and decay of the percussion instruments. It sounds more refined overall. And for whatever reason, there is this darker edge around the Wind's treble, making it sound safer but less engaging as a whole. Soundstage-wise, the Wind is noticeably wider due to that semi-open faceplate design. The imaging was kinda blurry, but at least there is more breathing room between the orchestra instruments. Overall, it depends on one's preference. If you would like a decently textured bass, well layering midrange with great timbre and darkish treble, pick the Wind. Whereas if you would like a neutral bright IM with an open, energetic, and engaging upper midrange, with an airy yet smooth, not too picky treble, pick the Cloud. One additional thing that I would like to mention, the Wind sounds better with stronger sources from my testing. So when using the Wind with an additional amplifier, the bass seems to liven up more and the layering of the midrange would be improved. So yeah, overall, although the BQEYZ Cloud is far away from my usual sound preference, that certainly does not stop me from enjoying it. With its performance, I think the Cloud does stand out on its own, especially in the sub $200 price range. Personally, the Cloud serves me greatly as a palate cleanser, a nice change of pace from my other IM in my rotation. If you are a vocal lover or are looking for a neutral bright IM, one that puts female vocal into the spotlight and doing them justice, With smooth yet detailed treble, I would highly recommend the Cloud. If you are anywhere near bass head territory and sensitive to high peanut gain, please look away. That's it for my review and thank you for watching.